Hey guys, welcome on in. Today you have the Outsiders final exam, and part of that exam requires a 20-point final exam question. And the question you're answering today is, which is the most important theme in the Outsiders and why? So it does require a racist response, which is why we put together this video, because we want you to nail this question. We want you to crush it. That way you do well on your final exam and you pass. All right, so theme is our key vocabulary word. And remember, theme means the life lesson in a story. So if we go back to this question that you're answering, we're basically saying which is the most important life lesson in The Outsiders. And when you get your final exam, you're going to see about 6 themes that you get to choose from. Yes, they're all pre-selected. Yes, you need to choose one of them from the pre-selected list, and you need to support it well with examples from the book. So in this video, we have this theme be the difference that we're going to be using. This one will not appear in your list. It is primarily a teaching tool. Okay, so when you don't see this one, just be aware that it is only for this video. So we have something to teach you that you don't feel inclined to copy, because we want you to have your own answers and your own ideas in your response. Okay, so the first thing we need to do, because it is a racist response, is restate an answer. So I want you to take this question, which is the most important theme in The Outsiders and why, and I want you to add this information, but form a statement. Take it out of question format. Okay, so answer that, restate an answer. I'm going to have you pause. You can write it down or you can just think it through, but pause the video on 3, 2, 1, and restate an answer. Hey, welcome back. So hopefully you did a restate an answer. I'm going to show you the example that I came up with. And it says the most important theme in The Outsiders is to be the difference. And that's a good restate an answer. Notice we haven't answered the why yet, and that's because we're going to get to the why as we go through this paragraph. Now, as you can tell, be the difference, that's a pretty broad statement, which means that there are a lot of different characters and a lot of events that this could apply to. So what I'm going to do is narrow this down. I want you to think about this. How is Ponyboy different from the rest of the greasers in the gang? Think all the way back to the beginning of the story until the end. How is he different from the rest of the gang? I want you to stop, think about that. You can pick up the book and kind of skim through again if you need a quick refresh. But you've read this whole novel now, so you should have a lot of knowledge about Ponyboy and who he is. How is he different from the rest of the gang? Pause the video, think about that. 3, 2, 1, pause. Hey guys, welcome back again. So hopefully you took some time and you thought about that question that I gave to you. And there's a lot of things we could talk about in regards to Ponyboy, but we're going to talk about how he is at the beginning of the book, and then we're going to kind of talk about some very specific examples as they happened throughout the course of the novel. So this is the connection between Be the Difference and Ponyboy so far. When the reader is introduced to Ponyboy early in the book, they meet a kid who is smart, sensitive, and a lot different than the rest of the gang. For example, he doesn't like to fight like Derry, Soda, and the rest of the gang. In fact, he believes people should only fight in self-defense. Additionally, he is artsy and the other guys are rough, uneducated, blue-collar worker types. And Ponyboy is very unlikely to ever be a hardened greaser like them. So, a couple things I want to point out to you just real quick. Yes, we've talked about some good things in relation to the question I asked you. But there's a couple of other things I want to point out, including transition words. So notice we use for example here with a comma. It's an introductory phrase, so you always put a comma after it. That is a good way to keep your writing flowing. And then we also use the word additionally right there with a comma after it. And in fact is another transitional phrase with a comma after it. So I want to point those out to you so you remember to use transition words. Okay, now let's get back to the content. We talked about a couple of things, and these were very specific examples from the book, right? And that's what you're looking for. You want to provide some really specific examples. Not everything has to be in quotation marks. You can summarize to make the points that you need to make as you get ready to get to that textual evidence you'll need a little bit later. So right here, I want you to pay attention to this. It says, Ponyboy is very unlikely to ever be a hardened greaser like them. That is a pretty bold statement. So what I need to do is find a piece of textual evidence to now support this. So I want you to think toward the end of the book, where's an example that shows that Ponyboy probably is never going to be a hardened kind of criminal like Dally or somebody else who's a little bit more rough around the edges. So think back toward the end of the book. There was something that happened very specifically, and 2-Bit was there as well. What evidence could I possibly use to support that statement toward the end of the novel? So go ahead and pause the video, flip through, and see if you can find that example. Kind of a scavenger hunt here. 3, 2, 1, pause. Okay guys, welcome back. Hopefully you paused the video and took a minute to see if you could find that event that I was referencing. Gave you a couple of hints that might have helped you. Maybe you found something else. So notice that I opened with one place where the reader can see this, and that's a good lead-in. So you want to use this, one place where the reader can see this, so that you can transition a little bit smoother into your evidence you're going to be introducing. Okay, so I highly recommend using that before you introduce textual evidence. So it says one place where the reader can see this is toward the end of the novel when he encounters a small group of Socias and busts the end of a bottle, threatening to hurt them if they didn't hop in their car and leave. After the encounter, 2-Bit tells Pony, don't get tough. You're not like the rest of us and don't try to be. Okay, so a couple things we need to point out here really quick is that textual evidence, it requires quotes at the beginning and at the end, and then we have this thing called the parenthetical, which is where the author's last name goes in parentheses and then the period follows. Period does not go here. We carry it over like a decimal in math and place it here. Okay, so got to get that out of the way. But now the next thing is, yes, this textual evidence here does support that Ponyboy probably is never going to be a hardened greaser like the rest of them, including 2-Bit. Because even though he gets really mad at these Socias and threatens to hurt them, at the end, we see that he's really not as hardened as he appears to be in that moment. Why? What happens after that? I want you to pause the video, read, and see what happens next that shows he's really not hardened like the rest of them. 3, 2, 1, pause. Hey guys, welcome back again. So at the end of that interaction, it's kind of funny because Ponyboy doesn't even try to argue with 2-Bit. He doesn't put up any kind of fight with him, which is kind of a way of showing that he really probably does agree with him. And then remember right here, it says he picks up all of the glass from the bottle he broke so no one got a flat tire. Really, that's what Ponyboy thought. He said, you know, I need to be considerate of other people. Somebody might be driving here and they could get a flat tire if I don't pick up the glass from the bottle I broke. So that is a good explanation to support this, showing that he's never going to become a hardened greaser like the rest of them. Kind of crazy, right? And then later in the book, the same compassionate person appears again, meaning Pony, when he shares that he wants his story to be a cautionary tale to help kids like him and those in his gang before it's too late. Because after all these events that have transpired, I mean, think about how many people he lost in just a very short amount of time. And he starts to realize that, you know what? Violence is not the answer. Too many people are dying around me. This needs to stop, and I need to help others too. And so the last thing we need to do, because this is all part of our explanation after our evidence, is we need to do a sum it up. So I want you to think, how would you sum up this paragraph if this was yours? You can take a moment, read the whole paragraph, and then think about how would you sum it up. Okay, 3, 2, 1, pause. Hey guys, welcome on back. So I'm not sure what you came up with for your sum it up, but I'm going to share mine with you real quick. It says, ultimately, Ponyboy learns to accept who he is, and he begins walking his own path by sharing his story, so he can help others, outsiders, who may be living in a similar situation and want to make their lives better. And that's how he is the difference, which is how this all ties back into the most important theme in The Outsiders is to be the difference, because you never know whose life you're going to impact. So I hope this helps you and gives you a good way to get started. If you do have questions, it would be wise of you to email me before you take the exam, and I'll try to get back to you as quickly as possible. Sorry for such a long video, but like I said, as long as this was helpful to you, then I'm not worried about the time. Good luck on your exam, and we are hoping for the best here. Thanks. Bye.